My name is Vince McIntyre. I'm 67 years old. I was born in the west of Ireland. I've lived here since 1979. I found this place by accident, decided to camp here with my girlfriend in 1979. She was a mountaineer. Made our temporary camp here, and here 30 years later, still here. It feels very permanent in the sense that it feels like home. This is the most at home I feel in any place since I left the place I was born. This is where I decided in the world to settle down. Beautiful place, and when I come here one time to help somebody get firewood, there was an old clear cut and all the trees were down, but it was so beautiful, the panorama of the mountains and the lake and all that. I thought, that'd be a nice place to live. You know, my daughter was 2.5 years old. I'd brought her up here because my girlfriend at the time, we were, both of us were homeless, and I was wondering where we were going to spend the winter. And there was an old man in Johnson's Landing. He wanted me to get him some poles for his chicken house to build, and he knew there was nice straight cedar poles up here. So I take Amber up here and we get some poles. When I have people that come want to learn something of me, I just come and watch me. I'll show you how I do it. And that's where I start with people, that I have demand that people be observant. You know, to actually explain stuff to people. I have a hard time with that. And that's not the way I like to do it. I don't want to come there, like if you're in the field and doing things a certain way, I'll show you how I do it. And then I'll see how you get it. Yeah. Well, I think in today's world it's not necessary, because when we depend on an industrial system for our survival, we might protest all that and think that we're defeated and so on, but it still works, eh? But if we want to get our power back and be able to do things for ourselves and not pay other people to live our lives for us, we have to be devoted. We have to learn stuff and stick with it. It will define our lives instead of us defining it by saying what. Maybe I'd like to go to Thailand for the winter or whatever, you know, like that's a whole new concept to the world, eh? And I can remember when people heard of people immigrating to New York, for instance, from the west of Ireland and going there, and they could you know, work like 5 or 6 days a week and have vacations. We didn't quite know what vacation meant. It was a new idea. I left home because I didn't get along with my dad, and I got as far away as possible from family because of all the tragedies associated with my childhood. And I ended up going to South America for a year, and then when I come back, I went as far north as I could go. I was to Dawson City, and there was something like I was getting away from, you know, that back then I never thought I'd ever settle down, that I'd always be a traveler. And when I come here, I kind of grew into the place, and my daughter was born here in the Kootenays, so that's probably the reason that it made it home for me. Yeah. So what motivates me is working with other people, but it has to be not just, it has to have some meaning to it. Like, people like you, for instance, that come into my life that I've worked with, they're my heroes. Yeah, we have to have our heroes, and we have to have you see the good in humans, eh? And that's the way I find the good in humans, the people I work with. To me, the biggest tragedy is that there's people today that they don't know why they're alive. I don't have the idea that someday I'm going to take my pack and walk away, really, you know. This part of me would like to do something like that. You know, when I was on the Yukon River, I met this old man that was drifting down the river, and he was probably in his 80s. And he must have been an iron worker or something like that, and he built himself a canoe out of 45-gallon barrels welded together, like cut in half, with an outrigger on it. And it was almost like he was getting free of his life and the world and so on. get free of whatever it was, so that he could end his life in a dignified way or something. He had this, and that always intrigued me, that old man had the courage to do that, because a lot of people have, look for the comfort of being cared for and all this, and maybe having an easy time in a wheelchair or whatever. But he was doing what I thought was heroic.